Hey, I heard it. All right, cool. So, that was my 7 minutes of fame. It's definitely a different kind of process. It was totally confused me at first because I had somebody that I met somewhere that said to me one day, like, hey Joe, you want to go get a beer? I was like, okay, we'll go somewhere. I didn't really drink that much, but sure, why not? So went to a restaurant. It's the person that kind of knew me from organizing some stuff. And she's like, do you want to do a TEDx? And I'm like, what? You know, I was like, on what? And she's like, we need an atheist. I'm like, oh, nice. I'm so glad I can be your token atheist, basically. So I said, at the time, I had worked on something that she was the MC for the event. It was like a unity rally thing we put together. And I represented the secular side for the humanists. A friend of mine had represented the atheist side for an atheist group in the area. And so I had actually said to her, are you sure you didn't mean him? Because I kind of felt weird that she came to me. And she said, no, she said, I thought, I couldn't remember which one of you had each, but it's also just you are the one I want to do this. And I said, okay. I said, so, you know, what's the whole situation? How's it work and everything? Well, basically, she wanted me from my personality and also just how I come across being this scary atheist to everybody, you know. Totally confuses everybody, and that's one reason she also wanted me to do it. So basically, I actually went to that friend of mine and asked him if he was okay with that, like me being the one that was the token atheist instead of him or somebody else. He actually said that I'd be the right one to do it, just because of some of the stuff I do in the community, you know, just different ways I come across. I was so paranoid because I was like, okay, so this thing's gonna be on YouTube, like well past my life, okay? And all I watch on Facebook all day is where someone screwed something up on YouTube or something, and it's like, I did not want to be the next Miss Brown, you know, like, ain't nobody got time for that atheist. I didn't want that, okay? I didn't want some jingle. I mean, if I get famous and they want to do that, that's cool, but I just, you know. So I was like, gosh, like everybody's going to see this and it'll be on there. So I was really kind of worried, actually, but it was like, okay, I'm screwed. Because as a president of my group, there is no way in heck I can say no to this. You know, even just for that. There's no way I can say, oh yeah, I'm gonna do something that's gonna be on YouTube and be in downtown Greenville that people are gonna pay money to go watch and everything else. And, oh, I just don't feel like it because I can't do it. No, because at that point it had nothing to do with me. Like, everybody would say to me, you know, oh, were you nervous? I was more nervous because I felt like I was representing more than me. It's good that I was, and it's good that I cared that much, but it was a lot because it was kind of like, I was actually worried about the numbers you guys saw we were joking around about on YouTube where it said how many likes and dislikes to the thing. I was actually more concerned, not about religious people. I was more concerned about my people. I was worried that the atheists, especially the ones that you would say are militant, as some people say, I was worried they were the ones that are going to be the most critical to me. Like, what the hell is that, Joe? I mean, like, be like nice and hugging and stuff. I mean, we don't do that, you know. I mean, like I was afraid it was going to be like I misrepresented so much that I actually went to a friend of mine that runs. That runs. She's part of the Atheist Experience in Austin. She does the show with Matt Dillahunty, her and a couple other people. They switch off. Her name's Tracy Harris. I went ahead and asked her, I'm like, Tracy, would you look at this and tell me if like I totally offended our people? You know, before I do it, I really don't want to be an idiot. I really don't want to misrepresent, and I really don't want to like have it be like, oh gosh, like why did he do that kind of thing? So she looked at it and she actually said she really liked the idea about the multiple choice. I don't know how much of it you could hear. But the concept of me trying to explain to people what atheism is, that it is another choice. It's not like you're just, you know, Christian, Baptist, whatever, and that's your choices, you know, that's it. We all start out as atheists. You know, until somebody dunks us and tells us we're something else, you know, we all come out being just human. And so, as far as that, you know, I just didn't want to come across in a weird way. So whenever you do the TEDx stuff, it's like going through this whole process. They've got a ton of rules. I couldn't wear anything that had words on it at all. I was going to say, I don't even have anything with words on it today. But if I had something that said Piedmont Humanist, I couldn't have that. I couldn't have anything to do with Piedmont Humanist until I stepped off that stage. Once I was out and not in that room, the TEDx room basically, then I could do whatever I wanted. I could talk about my group along with my talk and stuff like that. I couldn't mention it in my talk. So when you saw the picture of the Adopt a Highway, I actually smeared out and photoshopped the Piedmont Humanist part of that sign so that we wouldn't have that in there either, just showing that, hey, people I know volunteer, they're atheists, you know what I mean, or humanists. So there's a lot of things like that. And then the other thing is they choose. So you go through different stuff. Like, she let me know that fall that she was trying to put me through the process, and I had to keep doing outlines and sending them in and sending them in. And luckily I didn't have a lot of problems. They didn't say, oh, you know, you got to do this, you got to change this. The only thing they did was at one point, shortly before I actually did the TEDx, we had like a live kind of like go in somewhere and kind of do it in front of a couple people so they could see if we were even going to be okay, you know, as far as, oh no, we can't have that person talking out there. But they did that, and when they did that, someone did say to me afterwards that they wanted me to go a little stronger on the atheist side, like a little more in depth and a little more, I think they wanted a little bit of a push there to kind of push the corners of it a little bit to where it was a little more uncomfortable, to say the least, like I was trying to say something, I guess, more towards like why it would be better or something, and that's not what my talk was about, and I wasn't going to go that way at all. I mean, no one made me do that or anything else, but it seemed like, you know, there was a little feel for that kind of. So I said, no, and the person that was like my coach, I had like a little speech coach thing they offered. She said, when it comes down to it, Joe, it's up to you. This is your talk. You make it what you want. They picked you, so they got you. You know, it's kind of like, now's the time when you want to do it your way. You know, you went by their guidelines. You know, you did everything you're supposed to. So I went ahead and I said, yeah. I said, I don't want to cut out any of that. I said, I want it the way that I did it, and because everything on there, plus the parts I forgot, I wrote. So I mean, it was what I wanted. The one part I remembered as soon as I got off the stage, I was like, dang it, I forgot. You know, I was like, damn it, I forgot to do that. When I did the Webster-Merriam dictionary, when I did that, it was hilarious, and I could not go back and get a screen print of it. I wish I could have, so I could have done it in my talk. But I'm sitting there and I'm like looking it up, and I literally did look up, you know, let's see what the online things. If you just hit atheist and you put it in Merriam-Webster's online dictionary, and it was hilarious because before it even got to telling me what it was, I got a pop-up, and it was for, what's his name up in North Carolina? The, now I'm going to forget it right when I went to see it. I'm going to edit this one too. Billy Graham, that's it. I had it in my head. There was a huge thing for the Billy Graham Foundation that popped up when I put in atheism. I'm like, seriously? Like, I couldn't even, like, look for what I wanted to learn about without them already saying, whoa, whoa, you don't want to go in there. Look, we got the answer right here, you know? That's what it felt like. But I'm sure whoever paid for the Billy Graham stuff, for the advertising, had certain tags so that when you searched theism, atheism, you know, I'm sure any of that, that's where they would pay that it would pop up so that they could try to save us or something important like that. Or just, you know, they thought that's who needed to see it for some reason. So I didn't get to do that, and I so wanted a screenshot so I could put it up during my TEDx and be like, this is what I got, you know? And that was one of the things I forgot. Overall, I got most of it in. There was 180 people they chose from. And that was performers too, because they actually mixed it up through the day. So like the person that came on after I got off of the stage actually was a singer. And I met her through that, and we're good friends now too. But they had every so many talks, they would take a break and they'd have like music. They had, one was like actually a ballet type thing. They had the performers come in and do. And then another one was, every so often they would show like a TEDx or a TED talk that was like a famous one, or one that, you know, is well known or something like that. They'd show that if somebody hadn't seen it yet, and they'd do that, and they'd play it on the screen or whatever. But what else they did was, when we took breaks, there'd be sessions. There was like 12 of us, so like they'd do 3 or 4 and then take a break. We'd have like a little bit, okay, you got like an intermission, we can go do something. We had, there was one big intermission where we could go do lunch, and that was part of your ticket. You got like lunch along with it when you paid to go there. The tickets sold out like a week after they put them out. Yeah, they were telling us, they're like, okay, we're gonna let you know that if you have any friends that wanna come, whatever, get the tickets this day, because like a little pre-order kind of thing, because they'll be gone. And they were like, oh, they were like $60, I think. But when I look back at it and I look at everything there, between eating lunch, spending a whole day hearing all these live talks, they had interaction stuff that didn't cost any money. It was just other games and stuff they had in between that you could do. And then the nice thing too was, you didn't know what my talk was going to be about. They didn't know they were going to hear from an atheist. They didn't know they were going to hear from a friend of mine that does like queer transgender stuff. She didn't talk. They didn't know anything that was coming. You buy the ticket, and the day that you walk in there and they give you the layout, it's like, what's that going to be about? You know. But it's great that way, because then it's not like people aren't going to just be like, oh, well, I'm not going to go because it has that. Or it really challenges you, which is what they want, because the TED thing is basically to try to get you thinking. And the more kind of off, the better for them. It's like something that makes you kind of a little creepy, you know, like, oh yeah, I don't know about that one. But yeah, out of those, I got picked, and I doubt it was from my wonderful speaking techniques. I'm sure part of it was more of what I was going to do. Because they were trying to fit some of those things. Like their team had said, oh, it'd be nice if we had an atheist in the Marvel Belt just come out on stage and say, hey, I'm an atheist. You know? So that was partly what they were trying to do too, with some of the stuff. But anyway, that was a good opportunity. Glad I did it. It was great for our group, because the one thing I was able to do was, even though I couldn't do anything with it for the group while I was in the middle of doing my talk or what I was wearing or anything else, as soon as I walked off that stage, we had intermissions that they encouraged people to talk to us. So everybody I talked to, you know, while we were talking about stuff, if they had any questions or whatever, I could easily say something about Be My Humanist, you know, what I do for that, what our group does, or just what I believe, what I don't. The reactions were great. Most people that are going to, not to stereotype, but most people that are going to say, I'm going to go to a TEDx talk all day, you know, all different TEDx, most of them are not on a very far right. I really want to listen to things and take an open mind to things. Most people are kind of open-minded that are going to those kind of things anyway. That's probably why I have 3 dislikes and not 100, okay? Because I don't think there's a lot of very strongly religious people that were like, oh, let's see what the atheist talks are today. You know what I mean? On YouTube. I doubt it. So, but anyway, what I was getting at was, I had some real interesting things. I had one older lady. She stood about this tall, you know, she was just really sweet, she's quiet. She walked up to me and she's like, hey, she said, I never called myself an atheist, but I am. She said, I've been a teacher, or I retired, I was a teacher. She said all this stuff. And she said, I never really said that I was an atheist. She said, but I was. She said, I just never used that word or anything else. And she had thanked me, because she said it was nice that someone was up there representing who she was when she didn't have to say it, you know, or did anything else. And so that was like a real nice compliment. The other nice thing was, she took like an hour-and-a-half drive to get there so that she could just do the TEDx thing to go to. So it's something that a lot of people come to. It's worth it for all the different things. I had a good handful of religious people come up to me. And those were the ones I was like, I wonder where this is going to go. Well, one of the guys came up to me, and he told me he was religious. He said, thanks for your talk. He said, I am religious though. I believe in Jesus, or, you know, however he was explaining it. And he said, but I really respect that you did that the way you did. He said, I really appreciate that, like letting us really know you. And he said, that's what mattered to him. And it was like getting on a human level, you know, was better than screaming at somebody or talking down to them or sounding like, you know, I was in a tweed jacket and just like some kind of English accent and like, you know, coming from somewhere, but just Joe, just an average Joe was all it was. And so he really appreciated that. I had one guy, when I was in between, I actually went in and watched some of the other people talk. Got to see a couple of my friends talking that. And so while I was in there, we stood up, we were getting ready to leave. And I got like, the badges you get are like this. So it's like obvious you got a badge, because what they do is when you come and you get your ticket, that's what it is. It's got like a lanyard, and that's got a thing in it so that it has right with you all the speakers, all that kind of stuff, and a little write-up. So then on top of that, it's got your name, you know, and all that other stuff. Well, he had just seen me talk like an hour earlier, this guy, you know, and it hit him as soon as I walked by him that I was that guy, you know, like, oh, you, wait a second, you were up there, you know what I mean? And he had this, I can't remember if it was one of the I Love My Church shirts or if it was just some church, like it had said on his thing, but it was very clear he had a religious shirt on. And he looked at me and he was like, he's like, hey, he said, that was you earlier, right? I said, yeah. I said, yeah. I said, you were out here for that too? Because some people come in and out, or they'll miss a couple, or watch them on my monitors out in the other room. And he's like, no, I got to see it. He said, that was, he said, I appreciate that. And he just kind of gave me that dude thing. And I was like, yeah. He's like, you got balls. And I was like, oh, I said, okay. And like, so a guy with a nice religious shirt just told me, hey, you got balls. I was like, that made my day. That was enough. I was like, cool. He may have had to go home and pray about it. I don't know, but I appreciated it. It was just like, he really just respected that I didn't care I was in the Bible Belt, and I just put it all out there pretty much. So I had a lot of talks like that. Did not have one person try to save me. Did not have one person come off anything negative about my talk. I actually had a lady that had been a volunteer there, because they had a lot of volunteers for the TEDx stuff, and she was in what we had, it was like a VIP room for us. We could go in any time that day, and we'd get coffee, we could hang out. There's a huge TV they were showing everybody on. And this lady, one of her volunteer positions was to take care of us. Like, she was one of the people at the door there, you know, make sure it was one of us, you know, do you need anything, kind of thing. And I forget what religion she was, but she had talked to me a little bit and saw, and she didn't know until she saw the pamphlet. And she said, oh, that's what you're going to talk about? Like, she just was like really kind of a little shocked. When I got off stage, she came up to me, and when I came back to that room, I was a mess, because I was like, whew. There were times there you could see I was nervous. You can't see the part where I went like that for a while, and they cut that out. Like, after I was done, the one dude was like, we'll fix it, don't worry. I was like, okay, thank you. Because now I recoiled pretty good after and jumped back on it and was fine. But there was one moment when I just went blank, kind of like I did earlier for Billy Graham. I almost said Lindsey Graham, that's almost as bad. But for Billy Graham. And I know. So anyway, yeah, so this lady, she's just like, that meant a lot to me. She said, thank you. She said, I'm religious, all my friends are religious. I don't know anybody that's an atheist. She said, you're the only person that I met that actually came out and said, hey, I'm an atheist, and I know, you know, and she said she knew. And she said, thank you for that being what I saw as an atheist. She said, it was so vulnerable. She said, it made me feel a lot different than what I've heard. And that was my goal. That was my biggest goal of this. It was, and maybe because I, you know, at first worked more off the humanist side for my group stuff. But my thing was, all I want to do is just show them, Joe. It doesn't matter if I say I'm an atheist, I got an A on my thing, like Scarlet Letter, you know, whatever. I mean, it's like, it does not matter, because at the end of the day, I'm just like them. And that's pretty much what I went with. That was my goal. And my goal was to do something different than everything I've seen every time I go to YouTube, or every time I look at things that are atheists or whatever. And I have people that I meet that when I talk to them, they're like, oh, you atheists are angry and pissed off and, you know, hate us Christians. And I'm like, no, you know, it's like, you know, some of us are annoyed, and some of us come out of things and it really hits us hard, and at first it is a lot, you know, because for some people, religion's abused them. People in religion, you know, there's a lot of different stories. And And I see that every day in my group. I have people that find our group and they come from a place where they're really pissed, where they're really mad at life because of, they either feel like an idiot because all those years they were told, it's like, okay, there is no stand-up, okay? If you guys don't know, I hate to break it down, I don't want to hurt anybody, but that's sort of the same feeling they get. Like, oh my gosh, all these years I believed it, somebody told me it, I did whatever they said, and now I see it a whole different way. And I know there's plenty of people that don't see things that way, and that's fine. But the people that get to that point, they get so angry and so frustrated. And I think more of it than anything is pride. I think more of it's pride, and they just feel embarrassed. I mean, I was raised Catholic. I was, as I said in there, I was raised Catholic, went to all Catholic schools. I did not touch a public school area until I hit college. I sort of left religion and stuff before that, but I, since I was a little kid, I was always having to go to church, everything else. I was an altar boy. I used to get up 5 or 6 in the morning so I could do that before I went to school. I'd do the early one, and school was close to the church, so I'd walk over after. So, like, I've got all that, and I wanted to be religious. Like, I actually, at that point, was like, I wanted something to believe in. I want something to feel like there was a reason for me. Like I wasn't just another body in this world, And I think that's why I clung on to it at first. And other things going on in my life, my family and everything else, it was just something I could at least try to run to instead of, not having anything else. And so what happened was, when I got past that and when I started looking at things, I felt really weird. Like I was like, so this shit could be not real. Like it was just like, really? Like this whole time I thought it was this, and it made me feel better, and it gave that purpose and everything else, and I was just told that over and over by my family. Now, my family was not Southern Baptist or anything like that. So when I say my family and church or whatever, it was basically, get yourself in the car, we're going to church, or you're in trouble, or you're getting spanked. That was pretty much it. That was the Catholic version. Okay, it wasn't like you're going to hell and any of that. It was never that. It was just, we're going, so you're going kind of thing. The good thing about my mom was she was one that if I did say to her, I have no idea, this makes no sense, Mom. Why would the Bible have this? Or what? My mom was, what some would like to say, was a cafeteria Catholic. So what she did was whatever she wanted to pick off of that bar, she kept, and everything else she left for the person that would take it. So it was kind of like, as long as you love everyone, that's good. As long as you don't do any harm, that's good. All that other stuff in the Bible, I don't agree with that crap. I mean, she was just fine with that. So instead of like denouncing the whole thing, it was kind of like, well, I like these things. So we'll just say that I'm Catholic because of these things, And she still to this day prays. I mean, she does. She'll do the sign of the cross when she goes by the church every time when we go somewhere when I'm home. She knows I'm atheist. She has no problem with it at all. But when I'd ask her things, it was never like, you just have to believe, or it's the right thing, or you're doing it because I say, it was never that. So I don't have that feeling or that history that some people do in the Bible Belt or in just really strict religious households. My dad just was like, oh, we got to go to church, whatever. And I, to this day, only think he ever went on like the top holidays when he had to go. You know what I mean? I don't remember him going every Sunday, so it was like he wasn't that like all up in it either. So, but basically, I think of some people that go through it, like people from the black culture. I don't know how they do it. I really don't, because I have friends that all their life they were told, you got to get good with Jesus, you got to do this, the family, we're all this, you got to do this on Sunday. And it's like, if anybody questioned that, they were like in the corner, ostracized, totally pushed out, can't come to the potluck, so they don't like that either, But seriously, like, it's so much of a culture, I couldn't even imagine that. And it sucked just when I felt for me, and that was without having all that pressure, I couldn't even imagine. And I think of the people I've met down here in the Bible Belt that have that same kind of feeling to where it's just not an option. You know, they don't, the fact that I had an example saying there's a multiple choice type thing, and you can choose one of those things, that's never been an option for what they were taught. You know, they were taught this is the right religion, first thing. It's not even that you just as long as you're religious, it's that you have to be this religious, or this God, or the right one. When I first came down here, I'm from Pennsylvania, grew up Catholic the whole time, stopped going to church or something when I was probably in my 20s. Hey, what's up, man? So when I, slam? Okay. Wait, trying to keep that up? It's fine. It just, I thought it was going to slam. I didn't know if it was going to slam. That's good. So I was raised that way. I went to all Catholic stuff. And so I had a point.
So when you came down here.
Oh, when I came down, thanks guys. Thank you. Yeah. So when I came down here, I had told people, my answer was I was raised Catholic. That's how I said it. And let me tell you what, I never even had to explain non-religion. I never even had to get to atheism because I got the down look like, oh, okay. Right off the bat. I didn't even get a discussion. It was like, okay, you're just not one of us. I mean, it was that clear. And I mean, it was just anybody. And I was like, wow, okay. It's like, this is easy. I don't even have to go to the A word. That's cool, you know? Because at the time, I wasn't even using that word, you know? Like I never even used atheist until I really got a little more into my group. And I started seeing the need for actually trying to show people it's a word and it's not something horrible unless we let it be that. So yeah, I was like, I can get off by just saying that I was raised Catholic. That's cool, you know? But oh my gosh, I was like, if they ever knew I was atheist, I'd probably be burned at the stake. I was like, I gotta watch out, you know? I didn't know what to think. Never down here. When I was working my first job, one of my first jobs, there was this young black lady that worked with me. And she was very religious. Every lunch, she was like, I gotta go get, you know, she had to look up her verses every time. She just did that at lunch and would always talk to me about that and everything else. It's like, okay, you know, and I was honest with her. I told her I wasn't weird, you know, I was very Catholic before, but I was a non-believer. And she couldn't get it. She just couldn't get it. Like, Joe, you know. So one day I was getting so mad at my work. I was working for a print company and the machine was doing crazy stuff. We were just having problems. So I got so frustrated and I was just like, ooh. And I said, what the hell? I was like, oh my God, you would have thought I F-bombed the heck out of her. She flipped out like, oh my gosh, oh my God. And I'm like, what did I do? Like, I was very lost. I really was surprised. And she's like, you said hell. You shouldn't say, and I'm like, what? I was like, okay, I'm gonna really mess with you now. I said, you know, you're friends with me, I'm honest with you. I was being considerate because there was a heck of a lot worse 4-letter words that were going through my head. And so I picked the one I thought that would be the least, you know, the most appropriate that was not gonna get me thrown out that day, you know? So I said, if you would have heard that, you really would have been praying for me. I said, because I was not thinking hell. Hell was like a downgrade. And I did not realize, but it gave me a very good lesson as far as what it is to different people. Like as far as those words and what's so strong or that taboo to say, that coming to a new area, you know, I mean, there's plenty I've learned moving down here. But that was something that really caught me off guard. Like, I mean, I had people that I knew from back home that were real sensitive to words. Anything even close to a swear word was, they'd cringe or whatever. But I guess it'd been a while since I had that, and I just was mad, frustrated, and I said, hell, like I said, you would have thought I took her firstborn and was like barbecuing that kid. I mean, that's how frustrated she was over this hell thing. And I'm like, wow. Okay, so yeah, so it really depends on that kind of stuff. But the other thing I forgot to say was when I had those other people come up to me, and it goes back to me saying about the cultural, different people that it's harder for them to come out and everything. There's this young black woman that come up to me while I was walking back in between talks or whatever. She bumped me. I was like, You know, so you're like, do I know you? You know, it's like, this is my girlfriend. I'm like, do I know you? You know, and she's like, hey, she said, I just want you to know, I'm with you. she said, I'm one of you. You know, she's like, she said, I'm in the closet and I'm staying there, but thank you. I said, okay. But it was like, it did so much, that little bit of a reaction she gave me told me so much. Like I said, her culture is so much of it, she would have to hide that so much. And it was a young girl. I mean, she had to have been college age like you guys, you know. And it was just, to see it on her, she was like so happy, but yet so frustrated. You could see it, like so happy she had somebody. And like I said, she bumped me and kind of just, to me, she said it. She didn't like, you know what I mean, do anything else. You know, she wasn't like after my talk, like, yes, that's what I'm talking. No, it wasn't like that. She just, you know, came to me after for a second, just kind of did that. But that, the guy that came up to me that was religious, the other people that came up with me throughout the whole day, it made it all make sense to me. I mean, it showed that I accomplished exactly what I wanted. My goal with my talk was to go up on that stage and show somebody something different than what they were told. You know, confuse the heck out of them. I enjoy it. I love to confuse the heck out of people. Biggest the biggest comment I get from people after they've gotten to know me and didn't know I was an atheist. Now it's pretty hard not to tell I'm an atheist with everything on my Facebook and everything else. But before, I never really put it out there. I mean, if somebody asked me, I'd tell them I wasn't hiding anything. I just wasn't projecting it, and I wasn't like loud and proud, hey, this is me. But a lot of people would get around, they'd find out, and they'd be like, but Joe, you're so nice. Thank you so much. At first, that was my reaction, like, it was kind of like confused and kind of laughed at it. The longer I think of it and the more that happens to me, I actually get a little pissed now. Because there's this part of me that is like, okay, so you think that what I am dictates who I should be or anything else instead of the person that I am. And you were okay with me when you thought the person was all right. But now a label's going to change something that you might have thought about me. And you're going to project that onto me in a way that you know better. Like, and that's how I feel about people when they're trying to save me or whatever. I mean, I'm the nicest person in the world to them. I will never be mean. I have Jehovah's Witnesses that come religiously to my house. I work at home, and they come every so often. And they like to just, I don't let them in and talk to them because I'm too busy working, but I always take whatever they have, and I got a nice pile. And one of these Sundays, I'm having a talk on it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just, you know, I'm appreciating that. I'm saying, okay, you know, I'm respecting them, but I'm adding to the pile, you know, every time. Now, I will tell you, the last time they came, things have changed with Joe a little bit. So they didn't know this because I told the lady before I was an atheist, I was a humanist, you know. I mean, she walks up to my house. The back of my car has, you know, be my humanist. It's got even an atheist type sticker now, I think. I mean, it's got the, you know, all different stuff. So I guess she just only heard the humanist part, you know, because she kept saying that to me when she'd come. It's like, I know you're a humanist and all, but here, why don't you just, this last page is about you guys. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. So, but she would do that. Well, this last time, she said something about atheism or humanist or something. And she said, you know, there's a video that I want to share with you. And she had her tablet. Because I guess they're upgraded now to where they bring the Lord on electronics now. So she went ahead and was going to do that. And she had this guy named Joe. Had Joe, the technical support, with her right there. And she said, well, let me let Joe help here. And I said, could you do me a favor and email that to me? I said, I'd really like you to email that to me. I said, and then I'll look at it. I said, because right now, I'm telling you, I'm working. I don't have even the 5 minutes you're asking me. I said, I'm not trying to be rude. I said, just, could you please do that? I said, and then I'll even email you back, you know? And she said, oh, that'd be fine. So, my new thing. Huggable Atheist is my new thing. That's me. Gave her this and said, here's my card and here's my email. That was her reaction. At first, that was her reaction. I was like, Why? And she said, I said, I told you I was an atheist before, you know. She said, oh, okay, you know. Or I said, could you, you know, do you mind doing it? Yeah, I'll see if Joe can do that. I have not gotten the video yet, and they haven't come back yet. So I think I scared them away, and I did nothing wrong. I was never mean. I treated them with the most respect, probably more than even Christian people that don't want to talk to them because they don't see it the same way they do. I mean, like I said, if I wasn't busy with work and everything else, I would have let them come in. They could talk to me for a minute. I would have given them water, whatever, you know, would be good with them. I could do that. I'd do that with anybody. And it was like, I hate to think, and I'm waiting to see if she comes back, because they do every so often come to my house. And I'm waiting to see if they come back, or if they totally now are just done because the atheist word came out. And that's sad. That's really sad. Like, even on their side. Like, even if I was on their team, I'd be like, dude, you gave up with that, you know? Like, but I don't know. But it's powerful, that stereotype. And it ruins some people's lives. People worry about it. I got members that don't want anybody to know. Like, no one can know. I'm here and I'm at Bible class. That's what they tell their friend. You know, I have one person that, my vice president's a pagan, and she's also a couple other things. And one of our members is very much in the closet because of her older parents and his older parents. And so the one day they saw each other when they were at the store or whatever. So the person didn't know what to tell her, so they said, oh, that's my friend. She's from Bible class or Bible study or whatever. And so they told me about it later. I was howling. But I was just like, okay. But so now that family thinks that's what that person is because it was what they felt they had to do. And one of the biggest things I have a problem with is I want people to be themselves. I want them to have a chance to and have equality. And the other thing I was saying my talk was going to be about too was supporting that. The Piedmont Humanist, now the PH Atheist, which is a group under that now that I have that's specifically atheist. We have an LGBTQ group now that I've been working on, and whatever else I can try to throw out there. We got like a family group too. So we're building up things. But one thing is, no matter what group we have, they all have a certain PH standard we have. And part of that's been built in now to where they all know if it is about equality, we're never on the other side. I don't care what it is, you know. We always have done stuff with Pride every year up in Spartanburg. We always get a booth, we always do stuff. I've made like a really good relationship with a group called the Gender Benders. Their card I bring too in case anybody ever has any of the LGBT stuff or trans issues or anything that they're dealing with that they want some people that understand. They're actually going to come talk Sunday for us. Ivy, who is on their board, did a TEDx that same day I did. And his is, it's thinking out of the box or check the box or something like that, or out of the box, because it's about, like on a gender card for when you're filling out things, what do you fill out when you don't feel like female, male, you know, there's nothing. So it explains a lot of things. So I can post it to your guys' thing if you want to watch it. It's the same thing, like in 15 minutes. Did an awesome job, it's really cool. It gives you a different way of looking at things. But my main thing is any humanist group, any secular group, any atheist group, you know, we don't have this religion thing to hold on to, and we don't have everything else. And the one thing is, people think that we don't have morals. They think we don't have values. We don't care. And I'm going to tell you, I have people in my group that would do anything for anyone. Now I have people, because they're people, that would just about kill anyone too, because everybody's human, and that's the whole point I make. You know, it doesn't matter which group you're in. You're going to have really extreme, you're going to have really, you know, fickle people, and you're going to have in the middle. And depending on where they are and everything, the main thing is we're all human. We're all here. The humanist side, a lot of people hate to use atheists because they hate to use that word because they're like, oh, I'm going to be proud, I'm nothing. I mean, that's pretty much what they try to say, you know, and I can get that. But a lot of people, what they do to get around that is they say humanism is what I believe in, and atheism is what I don't believe in. And I think that's a good thing for people who are looking for a way to explain atheism to someone, to where it's kind of just that other side of just saying, look, I'm not that. And so for me, I don't think it's out there, but the way I show you what I do is that I care what's going on around me, the people, life, and I worry more about that. You know, I'll do whatever I can to make sure I'm doing the best for the better good, because just like my thing, you know, I don't think that arrow's going up or down. I want that green one. So all I got is what I see side to side, everyone around me. And when they disappear, they're gone. And so if I can make an impact on making their lives better or my own and help each other, that's where, you know, this whole atheist thing can still be a positive thing. Because one thing I always I like really got into when I got closer to pulling away from everything was, you know, I like to help people. I like to volunteer. I like to do anything for people I care about, even people I don't even know. I would do it, I'd give my shirt to somebody if they need it, you know? And it's like, can I just do that? Like, could it just be that I care? Do I have to have something that tells me you have to do that? Or if you don't do that, you're not going to get this? Or if you don't do that, you won't see your family later in heaven? Or some kind of tag there. Could it just be that I want to just be the way I want to be and treat people well? And that's what I would question my mom and, you know, other people and stuff like that. And that's what I told people when they ask me and they say, oh, you're going to give it a... I'm like, if the worst thing is that I actually just treat people well and I try to respect them, if there was a God, because I just don't believe there is one, but if there was, I don't know what kind of God that would be upset that I took care of the other creatures he made, you know? I mean, really, because I've heard people tell me, very strongly religious people flat out tell me that unless I accept Jesus, it doesn't matter how nice I am. It doesn't matter how well I treat somebody. It doesn't matter how many times I volunteer or what I'll do for anybody. All that matters is that if I don't accept the Lord, then it's like all that other stuff doesn't matter. And I just can't understand that. You know, if somebody give me a good answer for that, I'd be glad to hear anybody's answers for it, but when it comes down to it, it's simple. You know, it's like there is a such thing as good and thinking of people, and I don't know why we need something else to make us that way. Just being human's enough. That's enough. But overall, right now, my biggest thing is we do the Adopt a Highway. We do the soup kitchen whenever we can do it. We have to compete with all the churches. So we're kind of on the minority there. So whenever I can jump in there and say, oh, we'll take that date, we take it. And it's not a problem. It's not like they're pushing us away or anything. It's just they get this and that quick because everybody's trying to volunteer somewhere. The one thing I'll tell you is the soup kitchen loves us. They're all religious because it's a Christian ministry. It's like bread ministry, something is what it is. And it's in Greer, but they love us like crazy. And they know we have a humanist group, they know an atheist group, because now we switched. One of the days we take, we're putting it as PH Atheist. And when you go to their site, the Greer Soup Kitchen thing, it's on the calendar and it says PH Atheist out that weekend, you know, that Saturday or whatever. So we're everywhere that way. And one day, I'm going to tell you this quick story. They know me well now. So they know they can kind of holler at me if they need something or whatever, if they're in a pinch. Well, I live literally like 2 miles from the soup kitchen because I actually live right by it, which is kind of nice. So one day I was like cleaning up my house. I was like sweaty as heck. I just felt like crap. And all of a sudden I get a message from the guy that I know that meets us there a lot of times as a supervisor there. And he's like, hey, what are you doing? Is there any way you can stop by the soup kitchen? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, looking at the time and I'm like, they need to be serving soon. What do you need? You know, I was like, are you really having a problem? You know? So he called me and he's like, hey, is there any way you can get over there? And I was like, sure. I said, just let me throw on a different shirt or something. I don't want to like even scare them away. I was like, so, but I said, give me a minute. I said, I live close. So what happened was, somebody, and I don't know which organization. I just know that the only organization that goes there that's secular is ours, so who knows. But one of them didn't show up. Didn't tell them they weren't showing up. You know, I hope nothing happened to anybody or anything like that. But for some reason, they just didn't even let anybody know. So one of their board members for the soup kitchen had to go over, open the door, let them in. And there was nobody. So they're calling anybody that comes during the week to volunteer. And so this guy calls me because he's like, is there any way you can? I'm like, yeah. I said, give me a second. So I put a huge thing on our group. I'm like, if anybody's close to Greer, I said, and can get their soup, I said, please, come over and help me. I'm going to run over to the soup kitchen. They need help because they're kind of stuck today. And I knew they were about ready to serve. So it wasn't like I wanted somebody that was, hey, I'm in Clemson and I'll be there in about an hour. I didn't want that to happen. So I went ahead and I got me, a couple other people came. One of my friends that's in our group, she has a couple kids, and she's like, me and the kids will be over. Just give me at least 10, 15 minutes, whatever. I'm not that far away. I was like, okay. So this one guy, friend Shane that's in our group, he came. So he left, whatever. He was in the middle, and I was like, oh, I'll go help, So I had him, I had her show up, me, and these two kids. Well, I show up first, and I tried to figure out who was in charge. I'm like, hey, I'm Joe. Steve said to come. He knows me from when I come. And she's like, oh, thank you so much. And I was like, oh, no problem. So what can I do? What can I do to help? And she's like, well, this is how far we are. This is what we got left. We only got this started. It's like, okay. And I said, just, whatever you want me to do, that's fine with me. So I said, I just can't be around anything that has smell, because I'm hypersensitive to smell, unfortunately. So I'm like, I can't do dishes, and that's not to get out of dishes. I can't do any of the bleach stuff, but I can serve, I can do all this other stuff. So it's like, whatever I can do. And she's like, thank you so much. She said, the Lord is watching after us. He's got all of us today for sending people like you. And so I'm like, okay, all right. I heard that 3 or 4 times while I was there. So then my members show up, and they're getting help, and they're helping, and she's saying that to them the whole time too. And none of them said a word. They're just like, oh, I'm glad we can help, whatever. So this lady was really cool. I could tell she was laid back, and most of the people on the board know our groups. I never met her before. So she kept saying that to me. And I was like, our people left, everything else. I said, you got it? I said, we can stay. Oh, she's like, oh, no, thank you so much, though. She's like, God bless you. Thank you so much. God just really saved us today. I'm like, okay, whatever. So before I left, I went to the office and I was telling her I was going to ask her about something. And I said, I just got to tell you this. And I said, it's not bad, and I'm not trying to be a smart ass to you. And I said, I'm just telling you this. And I said, do you know that your God sent 3 atheists and 2 little atheists to save you today? And I said, because that's pretty much what happened. And I said, because I'm the humanist president. I said, that comes here, and she's like, oh, you're with them? She said, we love you guys. It was so funny because I knew, I could tell. I wasn't going to say that somebody was going to be jumping me. But it was just like I said that, and she just got a kick out of that. And then she was like, every time she talked to me before I left, she was getting ready to say, bless you, and you could tell. It was like, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, it's okay. I just it was just, so she got to where it was she realized, and it was she actually cared enough to say, hey, I'm not going to say that over and over if that's not what, that's a big difference there compared to how I get reactions, whatever. So me being the fun and interesting president that I am, went home and decided to put on our group that there was a miracle in Greer that day, that God sent 3 atheists and little atheists to save the soup kitchen. So that's how I handle things sometimes. As serious as it is, it's also good to kind of be a little lighthearted with it and fun. But the soup kitchen, this I was looking at, and I was going to say, the light the night. I know you guys did it before, at least a portion of it. I know some of you guys did it. It's for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Foundation. Every year they do a walk, and you got walks for everything anymore. And basically, we did better than we've ever done this last year. We went ahead and put a goal of $1,000 to raise. We reached 1,000 the first week. So before that, I found out the 2 or 3 years before that, combined, we didn't even get $300, $400. So we really went after it this last year. Our goal at the end was 2, and we got it. So we did 2,000. So that's going to be a Piedmont Humanist thing now. I also was trying to get Jason and a couple of the other, for some of you guys, maybe we'll do it next year if you want to, like to try to do it under us as a huge group
I
type
wanted
thing.
to do it last semester.
Yeah, no, it's okay. No, but it starts now, like a new year.
Because we're started again?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it starts like January. I mean, you can start. No. Fall is when they really push it because that's when the walk is. But after the walk, we still had till the end of December to get money in. If we got money in up until, I mean, actually I made the last donation to put us at 2,000. I made it literally like December 30th. I think I made it, and it was like early enough that it counted. So everything up to the end of that year counts. What they're trying to do is they're trying to just get it up to where it's like everybody's trying to get it by, I think it was like October 6th or something. It was something like that. We had it last year. Actually, probably said it right here. But anyway, that kind of stuff is now something we're going to strive to every year. And it's like, that's it. That's our standard. Now it's going to be, we're not okay unless we're doing 2,000, 2,500, whatever. And it goes to a good cause. All goes to the help of the people that need it. It's not one of those that all these CEOs get like 90% and 10% goes to the cause. It's not like that at all. It's really good for that. And then basically the only other thing is the Huggable Atheist thing is something I'm doing myself. It's my way of representing me as who I am and trying to put that name out there in a way that it makes people think different. Just the TEDx, just the other stuff that I've helped with in Greenville has changed some people's respect for us. It hasn't made a huge thing and everybody wants to be an atheist when they grow up. It's nothing like that, but it's enough that, they see that the Piedmont Humanist group specifically is doing things. We care about the community. We're trying to do things not to make it look good, but because we actually care. And that's sort of what that goes with too. And people laugh because it's a cute name, Huggable Atheist. Well, when I got off stage, I didn't remember, heck, I didn't notice. I was about ready to bawl for an hour the whole time after that. I was so frustrated. I forgot the one part and stopped. I was just having a meltdown after I got off stage. You didn't see that part because they definitely didn't have me to film for that. But so I never heard what the guy said.